idea is to give the birds enough space that, they don't have conflicts that are harmful. The difference between a cage system and aviary system is that the cage system, they're thank you, Matt. The cage system, you're in there for production, you're in there to avoid conflict. So they're that density is basically the density needed to avoid conflict. Is that your understanding of that density too? Okay. So in an aviary, they can actually have a little bit of conflict and be okay. So in a cage system, they don't really have enough room to run away from a situation. So then you just keep them at a density that avoids conflict. They don't hold territories at that spacing. Good morning. But in the aviary system, they have little scuffles and they're a little fine. They don't, at least my birds, I've only had one jerk, so it does happen. You can have a jerk. But at least with my aviary, I haven't had problems except for one little dude, and he was a jerk from the beginning. But they'll do the whole pecking order thing, and like, this is my area, and they'll just kind of peck a couple times, like, no, get out of my way. And then that other one, the lower one on the rank, will run away. And they might follow them for a couple feet. But when it's like high breeding time, yeah, they might chase each other a little more. But they have enough space to get away. So that's the key difference in that part of it, to keeping the peace in an aviary, is that they have enough room to go away, so therefore they can hold little territories. And as long as they have that space to go away, then it's completely fine. As far as density goes, because you have that space and they have that ability to get away from a situation, the density really is based on poop management. So I've had birds. So I'm just going to talk about my main. I have two aviaries. One is what I call my main aviary. It's about 70 square feet. It's about 7 by 10 feet, and my other one is kind of wonky shaped. So it's, I think, slightly smaller, but it's around the same size. But for my main aviary, that's the aviary because there's rabbits in there. My main aviary, I have had more than 70 in there, but not as breeders. So I've had, like, when the chicks are ready to go outside, I've had a bunch of them go into an aviary, and it's been completely fine. Now, most of those birds, when they're 8 weeks old, will get pulled out and get processed. Might sell a few along the way, stuff like that. But most of them will get out at the 8-week mark and get processed. So it's not a system that holds that many for that long. Right now, I have, I think, about 30-ish in that aviary. I did have some broody mama, and she did hatch babies. So that's, I haven't done a video on that yet, but I will. And then the aviary, there's one that's broody in there right now. But so I think I have around 30 birds in there right now. And that's a pretty comfortable number for very minimal poop management. So for me, that's a good number. I've had a larger amount, and that has also been a good number. But it really does boil down to how often do you want to manage their poop. And for my situation, I have deep litter, which is wood chips, and you can fork that in. And how often you do that will depend on the number of birds you have. So the density, right? The density of birds you have. And then also weather. So if you're getting moisture into your aviary, like if your roof doesn't extend out, then that's going to be you're going to want to turn that in more often because you don't want wet poop. So it's a long answer to your question.
That's okay. Mary, you're in a good place because I homesteaded my apartment, and Katrina is on a city lot herself. Now, Steve has a question for you.
So I have 100 birds. Do I toss them in and subtract when there is a problem, or should I put in 10 and keep adding until I have a problem? So this is a hypothetical. Um, personally, I would not. Personally, I would not advise going less than one bird per square foot in an aviary, and that's for poop management. So it's not an interaction reason for myself. It is a poop management a poop management reason. And thank you, Ken. And so that is something that for myself, that's my reasoning. So you could put more birds in. Honestly, especially if they're young, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. So what I would do is if you have, like, let's say you have a new hatch and they're ready to go outside, I would put them all in there. And you might start having more interactions at about 6 weeks old, because that's when the males that's when all the adult hormones start to kick in, but the males get it first. And so they might start causing issues at that point. But yeah, I hope that answers the question. I would put them all in and then remove individuals. Part of that too is when you remove individuals from a population, they have to reorganize their pecking order. So what I actually do when I take away males to keep, when I am figuring out who is a breeder and I need to thin out the males, I will take out the males that I know are not going to breed, and I might keep 2 extra, because sometimes they just don't work out in that smaller group. Sometimes it's like, oh, you're actually not who I want to keep. So I actually keep more than I need, and then over the next week or so make the decision of who really is going to be breeders. So, yeah. And Matt says, do you compost quail poo for your garden? I don't actually do my own compost pile. The birds do it for me. So yes, I actually that's not completely true. So there's 2 things I do with the quail poop. One is in an aviary setting, I have the deep litter. That is literally a compost pile underneath your feet. So you're not needing a separate compost pile for that. You just take a pitchfork, fork it in, turn it over, and that's what you end up with compost. So that's pretty cool. My chickens do the same thing, but they have to scratch it in. So quail don't actually scratch like chickens. They don't scratch as deep. They'll scratch the surface and they'll dig a hole, so here and there, but they don't actually scratch in everything. So I have to be the chicken. So that's for that. And then the other thing is for my brooder. So you have brooder poo that obviously is not a deep litter system. I mean, I suppose you could if you put the brooder into an aviary and churned it all and all that. Morning. But what I end up doing is I have when you get wood chips, it's a lot. It's a whole truckload from these tree trimming companies. So they dump the whole load. So I actually got it and did a wood chip pathway in my yard. So about, actually I think recently I was doing about 18 inches, and then more recently I've been doing about 2 feet, because it does settle and compact down pretty quick. And so what I do is I do that on my pathways, and I will dig that back and actually bury within the wood chips, not below the wood chips, within the wood chips, the brooder poop. Cover it back up and the flies can't get to it. But I mean, I have a video. I have a whole playlist about compost, and one of the videos I did was, hey, let's see what we find when we dig up the quail poop, and we couldn't find it. It was gone. So that's all in there. So yeah. And Steve, yes, 5-to-1 ratio in aviary. I still do that. I find that you can have more males. Like you can have a spare male in there, maybe 2 spare males, depending on how many you have. But you don't need it. It's just happened because, like, oh, I forgot to take out my extras that I saved, or yeah. So I still do a 5-1 ratio. When I do grow outs in the aviary, it's whoever goes in there. And then I do have quail mobiles, little cart things outside of the aviary if I need to take. I usually try and have some males in there just because it's different. There's the males in there. Not all the males, but
I'm dropping the link to your composting playlist.
thank you. Thank you. And actually, yeah, composting is very interesting. It's very interesting.
Okay, next is, does the rabbit waste drop to the ground in your combat in your aviary? I can't even say the word right
Combine.
now. No, what you call it?
I call it a raviary.
Yeah.
It's a word I made up. Jello.
Hello, Adele.
Yes. So how does that work? When you have a mixed system in an aviary, how does that work? I'm limited in space. I live on a 7,000 square foot lot, and I have, I don't just raise quail. I have quail and rabbits and 3 chickens and over 40 fruit trees and garden space and the house, you know? And that's all on 7,000 square foot lot, city lot, regular small lot here. And so when you have that, you have to think about stacking. And I know I started out with the rabbit stuff with the chickens, and Joel Salatin, kind of coined this racken house, and that racken is rabbit and chicken. And he does this thing where they're on deep litter, and it's a really good thing because the chickens actually churn in the rabbit manure. So what I wanted to do, because I wanted more space to put rabbits, is I put yay I put the rabbits into the raviary, rabbits and quail. I couldn't figure out a word that was actually the word quail and rabbits. It sounded cool, so raviary sounds like it's a party. But yes, the rabbits are in hutches. They drop their poo down to the quail. The quail do spend time kind of going through that area. It does attract some bugs, so they're actually really good at cleaning up that area. I would say they're better at cleaning up that area than chickens are. I don't know why, but because they don't scratch, I have to scratch it in. I have to go in with a pitchfork, with a hoe, and turn that in, because the quail don't scratch enough to kind of make it subsurface and get some aeration going in there. That's up to me to do. So that's the only difference there is that. And then the other part of that is, so aviaries need to be at least 6 feet tall. My main aviary is a little bit shorter than that. But they top out at like the speed that they jump at, it tops out at like a little more than 5.5 feet. And then they kind of slow down, and I mean, they've hit the top, but I don't think with enough force to hurt themselves at that point, because they've already started to slow down. But when you have rabbits over quail, it is in that danger zone. So the height for housing for quail should be like between 8 and 12 inches in a cage system, or above 6 feet in an aviary system. And the reason for that is they will basically, not all of them, but Coturnix quail flush. So some of them are more prone to it than others. In my main aviary, I have one that every time I open the door, it's going to flush. I don't know why. It should be used to it by now. Everybody else is used to it by now, but there are particular individuals that do that. The other thing is when we have that happening, you have risk of injury. So not only injury, but also death. So if they are going at that speed, because it's an explosive speed, they're going at that speed up to a solid surface, they can break their necks. So you want to protect against that. And one way to do that is something that I did is I put aviary netting about this far, what is that, like 5-6 inches below the flooring of the rabbits. So it's big, in the squares of the aviary netting it's big enough to let the poo through, and it's small enough that a head doesn't get stuck if they do jump. And the ones I have in there right now don't jump under there. Like, they already know. I think they've probably already figured it out. Some of them do flush out in the open of that raviary. So yeah, hopefully that answers fully.
Okay. Katrina, Mary was saying after the first year she's going to order eggs from a feather sexable type and start fresh. She has a great deal of trouble sexing, so she wants feather sexables. Which ones would you advise her to get?
I like Jumbo Wild. I mean, I know there's a lot of feather sexables out there. I know, like, my Shire farm has really good eggs, and that's where I've gotten mine from. And so they're really good. I think it depends on what you want. So the only ones that are feather sexable, at least from him, that I think are a little hard to sex are the Goldens. And that's just because there's a couple more, I don't know, intricacies to that. But the rest of the color sexable, like the Egyptians, are really easy to sex. I'm sure the White Wings are, and the
She wants the smaller birds instead of the jumbos.
Smaller birds. I mean, I've had the Egyptians, but the Egyptians are pretty big. I mean, the Egyptians are basically almost jumbos. So I would say if you're having trouble sexing and you want color sexable, or feather sexable, I would not personally go with the Goldens if you're wanting that, because
they're too hard.
they're more, yes, you can do it, but it's more difficult. So
Right.
those are the only ones I wouldn't choose. Verna, do you?
I wouldn't. Well, she's talking about the fab fees, and
Right.
no, those are harder to sex.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go with a fee, I would go with an Egyptian fee.
And that's what I have in my main aviary right now. I have Egyptian fees, and they're not the smallest, but they're good.
You can double check with the Egyptian fees because the males' heads are darker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Or yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So standard. Yeah. Steve's really interested. Are you getting rabbits? Aviary. What about the rabbit pee? How does that affect the quail? They don't get peed on. They did when I first put them in there. They don't anymore. Same thing happens with the chickens. The other day, it was, the chickens, and it was waiting for. I have one chicken named Overraptor. Yes, fun. And they were over by the rabbit's bathroom, and Manuel had said something. Oh, I hope she doesn't. And then she ran out of the way right before the pee hit the floor. So rabbits have a bathroom. They have a specific place where they actually go to the bathroom. It's their bathroom. And so while the quail do pick through that area, they learn when pee is coming. They can hear it and they can get out of the way. So that I
Yeah,
haven't
they
had a
want to
problem.
rest in a certain position to get out of Dodge.
Yeah, exactly. So they are aware. As far as anything else about it, they're pretty good. Bird systems are pretty good, and 3 truckloads of wood chips. Yes, wood chips are wonderful. But the moisture. So birds don't pee, right? Birds don't pee. Oh, there you go. Steve has some great suggestions for Mary there.
I love
Birds,
the pansy fees.
yeah, birds don't pee, so they don't add any. Um, both your quail or your chickens or whatever birds you have, they don't add any moisture, any significant moisture to deep litter, to your compost pile that you're building underneath them. And so the rabbits add that. So that's something that is, you can see a difference between the two aviaries, the ones with the rabbits and the ones without the rabbits. You can see a difference, and it breaks down much faster. It composts much faster with the ones with the rabbits. Now you are adding more manure to that system, but you're also adding more. You're adding the liquid part. So if you've done any composting before, they say to water your compost pile, and that is part of what happens. Is it speeds it up. So it doesn't affect the quail really at all, but it affects the substrate.
Hello, Nita. Alrighty. Now,
All right.
how often how many rabbits do you have and how often do you breed them?
So I had an unfortunate year this year. We're wishing for a better next year. I had an unfortunate year this year where I lost both of my female breeders. Um, I used to have, at one point when I originally got my rabbits, I had 3 females and 1 male. One of them a couple years ago succumbed to a heat stress. We had temperature, 115 degrees was just too hot for her. That was very sad, and happened when I'd just come back from QuailCon and hadn't checked on them yet. And Manuel came in and said she passed. So I do give them water bottles in the summer, ice water bottles. But then this past year, my other 2 passed. One in childbirth, and the other one, I believe, from a stroke. I was with her when she passed, and so right now we haven't had babies in a while. Now I currently have 4 does and 2 bucks. So that's going to change. 2 of the does I had saved back prior to their deaths to replace the one that died before, and as a spare, and not expecting that I was going to lose both of my really good breeders. But they are hopefully pregnant now. We'll see. And then I kept the one that had a stroke. I kept her 2 babies. She only had 2 babies that litter. She was pretty old. So, I mean, she was old enough that she was only having 2 baby litters. And so both of them were female, so I kept them. So they are growing up, and they'll be bred in March. 9 months is what I've heard is a good age to breed. I've heard from other people that you can breed them sooner than that, but I'm just going to wait the 9 months and do that. And then I have 2 bucks right now. One is an older buck, which he needs a home. So he needs a retirement home. He was shooting blanks. And then the other buck is a new buck, to me, unrelated to them. And so that's unrelated to the rest of them. And so he will be the new buck. So total, I will have 4 does and 1 buck, once Parmesan finds a home. Yeah. All right, Steve asks, if I were to divert the rabbit manure to a collection pipe Would their urine be a concern in the collection? Meaning, if I put it in a bucket, can I collect both? I would not do that. So it's not that I wouldn't do it. I would drill holes in the bottom of the bucket and drain the urine through. I think that would work fine. If you have a bucket and you let it sit with water with poop, then that will be a stinky situation. So like when I have for my grow out pen for the rabbits, I have big bins underneath, and they don't always get emptied as often as they should. But hi. But I do, use that as well in my wood chip pathway, and compost in that so that the flies don't get to it. And so what I would do is I would drain out the urine. Yeah. Would you put a fan on the rabbits on extreme heat situations? All my rabbits, well, Parmesan doesn't have one, but it's cooler over there. My does and my grow outs have a solar powered fan. So you don't want to put fans directly on animals during heat. You want to put it either under them or slightly over them so that the air is moving. But yes, I do have solar powered fans in all of them. And I also give them the ice water bottles so they can cuddle up next to it. And even if they don't cuddle up next to it, proximity will cool the air around them. Yeah. How do rabbits do with heat? Not well. Not well. Matt, they are, you're in New Mexico. Is that right? I think. Yeah. So rabbits don't do well with heat. They do really, really well with cold. So like, hi Kelly. And so they do well with cold better than they do with heat. So if you have heat and you have high heat, it's best to have them in shade and like in shade of shade, right? Like you want them to have deep shade if you have a lot of heat. I do know of people putting those misters on them, but I have questions about that because you don't want their fur to get wet. So I think maybe putting misters in the area they're in and not like on them might cool the air. Like, but I would not put misters on them. Yeah. Berna, we can't hear you.
I tell you what I'm going to be doing. The animal room is the only room with an air conditioner. So they are going to be cold and I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime Lucy and I need to cool off, we'll just have to go visit the animals.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like I noticed they don't eat as much in the summer as they do in the winter. In the winter, they're much more active, and they actually like move around a lot more. In the summer, they're bums on the couch. They're like, okay,
They're like Great Danes.
Right. But in the winter, they become more active. They eat more, and all of that. So that's something to know. But the value in growing rabbits, I think, is really good. Quail is all dark meat and rabbits are all light meat. So you wouldn't think of that because like I know chickens and turkey and all that, they have the dark meat is legs. And you would think, oh, lots of oxygen, lots of all of that, all the reasons why dark meat is dark. You would think that the rabbit's legs would be dark meat, but they're not. Yeah.
Okay, here's another question for you.
What is the oldest age you can process a rabbit to eat? I know you retire to pet status. However, can I still eat them? Yeah, I never have, but you definitely could. So I process at 12 weeks old. We'll see if there's a difference with this buck. Basically, so he is a New Zealand, and then my ladies are a cross of Californian and New Zealand. And So those are both meat rabbit breeds, and those meat rabbit breeds, um, people say 5 pounds is live weight. 5 pounds live weight is what people generally butcher at. I actually butcher at 6 or even 7. Um, I let it go late one time because I had things going on and did not see a difference. So I haven't tested that further. Um, but I do know with all animals, you're going to have a tougher meat as time goes on. So my recommendation, without having done it, my recommendation is if you have an older animal that you are processing, you're retiring to the pot. I would crock pot it or pressure cook it. That's what I would do with it. Another thing that you can do with that, that I have not seen a difference in, at least with quail, is I did do a test old and so 8-week quail, that's when I usually process, and older quail, 6 months, year old, and I have canned them, and I could not tell the difference once they were canned. So, and that was, it's a pressure, it's pressure canning, so it's a pressure cooking basically. um and I could not tell the difference there. So my recommendation is, if you do have an older animal that's going to have tougher meat, one, make sure that you, after you process the animal, you put it in ice water. Some people don't do ice water, some people just do the refrigerator, but I like to do ice water because it gets the blood out. I put it in ice water, and you change out the ice water, every day until the rigor mortis is done. And for a rabbit, that might take 3 or 4 days. And when you do that, that relaxes the muscles, it relaxes the meat, and for any animal, that's going to have a more tender situation. And especially for an old animal, you want to do that because that's the most tender you're going to get it. So one, do that, and then after that, what I would do in that situation is pressure cook or crock pot. So yeah, good question.
Okay. You said that a lot of times you butcher at 12 weeks. That is the earliest that it's advisable to save the rabbit if you're going to save the fur.
Is that,
Uh huh.
I knew it was a certain point,
You
but
have to at least wait until they're 12 weeks old.
and I haven't been successful at actually following through on pelts. That is one of my goals this year is to actually follow through on doing the pelts, because I start them and
Well,
then
what you do is you put them in the freezer until you get a bunch of them. That way you can do them all. And the rabbitry center on
I've seen his
Facebook.
videos. Yeah,
Yeah, he is. I watched his tanning video.
yeah. I don't think I need to save them in the freezer, because then what happens is it stays in the freezer. But then also it does I think there's enough when I breed 2 rabbits at a time. And so there's usually going to be enough to do stuff with then.
Raw or pressure cooked? Yes, Matt.
The dogs.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was on bunnies. And I was like, that's kits. um,
When he says pups, that's either cooey or dogs.
right. um, yeah. So when I use the bones for, an animal, either it's been canned or it's been, cooked in some way, I always put it in the freezer, put it in a bag, and then do bone broth. And I have, I think, a couple of videos on bone broth, and I'm going to do one doing the turkey carcass here soon. But when I do bone broth, I let it go through the pressure cooker twice, 3 hours. If 3 hours, I take out the broth, then I do another 3 hours with new water. And at that point, the bones are squishy. So I actually feed them back to my birds. And the birds go crazy for it. I mean, it's a bunch of calcium at that point, Not sure how much nutrition other than calcium is there. But yeah.
Now, Jennifer has a question for you.
After a mama rabbit has babies, when do you rebreed the mama? So I rebreed after once they have the babies. I rebreed at 3 weeks after. So when the babies are 3 weeks old. I know, like Living Traditions Homestead, they do 2 weeks old, and to me, that seems a little quick. Um, they have a lot more experience than I do, but but for me, I do it at that much, and then I wean at 5 weeks, and that hasn't been an issue for me at all. That way, mom gets mom gets about a week to you know dry off and get ready for the next one, and they've been really good that way. Um, yeah, some people keep their does and bucks together, like they pair them or whatever, and they have the potential because 30 or 31 days is about when the gestation is. Um, so they have the potential to get pregnant as soon as they have their babies. Um, Personally, I think that that's a little rough on the body,
Yeah, it's just like a woman having a baby every 9 months.
which there's some people that have them pretty close. Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
Can
here's one from Brad.
can a buck be fertile but carry an infertile gene? I do not know anything about that. I don't know anything about that. I'm sorry. Sorry, Brad. Um, I don't know. And we'll see if my little buck. I feel like I should call him a buckling. He's pretty young. He's only 7 months now, so like I said, I've been told that he can breed then, but we'll see. Do I
Oh, we just
sell?
haven't. Yeah, we haven't got to her garden yet, Matt. But we'll let her answer.
Do you sell your heirloom seeds? Um, I have. So I'm assuming you're talking about. I have seeds that volunteer in my yard, and they volunteer year after year after year, and I have not sold seeds as of yet. I suppose if you want to buy some seeds, we can work that out. Give me an email. um, but I haven't done that as of yet. I do sell plants locally, and kind of like on Craigslist and stuff. And like right now, borage is coming up, and that's a really good one for anybody to have, I think. Um, yeah, I think that's is a good one for anybody to have. You can make like ziti sauce out of it because it tastes like cucumber, and you can dehydrate it and use it when you have no cucumber and you have no borage, and you can have ziti sauce. I think it's pretty cool. I have a video on that too. Yeah.
Katrina, would you talk about your garden a little bit?
Yes. Yes. So I moved to this house. I bought it in 2013. So a little over 10 years, 10 and a half years. And I have always wanted to grow things. I lived with my grandma before that. Some of my trees I had bought already when I was living with her, and they were in pots on the on the porch. Um, and so when I moved here, it was really funny because my realtor didn't really see the picture that I saw. Whenever I look at a property, I'm like, I'm gonna do. I have vision, and when you have a property that's in town, it often doesn't have garden, right? And I wanted edible landscaping. So Verna and I talked about this the other day. Like, I did not have the words yet for food forest. I did not have the concept yet of food forest. That's really what I was wanting, but I didn't have the knowledge yet to make that exactly how I wanted it, right? So like if I were to redo things, I would do it more of a food forest style where everything is kind of mixed in and spaced more appropriately. But what I did is I did edible landscaping, and I started out, I said, okay, I want everything to be I want all permanent plants in by the end of the first year. So that was, you know, that's a big job to put every permanent plant in in the ground in your first year. But the reason why I wanted to do that is I understand it takes a year or two for plants to actually give you fruit, and give you produce. So that was my goal, and I nearly made it because I'm still adding things. um, but as a result of that, I have over 40 fruit trees on, again, 7,000 square foot lot. And then I have garden space as well. And the garden space is not intermixed with like a food forest would have. I mean, it's placed in between. I don't have like a garden and then trees over there. I do have beds intermixed in. So I guess it kind of is more like that. But I grow a lot of things that I don't have to plant. And I think that's important. One, all of the permanent plants are here. Two, I have plants like the borage I just talked about. Miner's lettuce came in from my neighbor. It's kind of annoying how much it is, but at the same time, like, it's free food and it grows on its own and it comes back every year. And so I like to concentrate on a lot of crops that will just come back. So the beets in my yard, they grow. I eat the greens. You can harvest off of them for 2 years before they pretty much die. But in that time, they can self-seed. I have had, like this last year, I had a few of my beets, which have just self-seeded throughout the time, were higher than I could reach when they went to seed. And that's not a typical, typical beet is going to be, I don't know, 3-4 feet when they hit their seed. So I do a lot of that. I let a lot of things go to seed because I know they're going to be stronger. So the volunteer plants I call them volunteers, that they grow the next year, they're going to grow and be stronger every year. And those are the ones that are going to be more robust and healthy and all of that. So, and then of course I also plant, things like tomatoes and green beans and squashes and all of that. So, I try to garden as much as I can. Sometimes I miss the fall garden. Like this year, I picked out plants. I might actually be planting this weekend, because we're finally getting rain, and that's a good time to plant. So I know I want to plant peas and stuff. But I'm going to answer Steve's question. Hypothetical question. We're going to till up your entire yard. What items would you plant to start off with? I will tell you what my first item was that I planted. I planted hot and spicy oregano, and that's fabulous. Everybody should have hot and spicy oregano. What items would you plant to start off with? So again, so you're saying we're starting over, clean slate. What do you do? So if I could do my food forest now, right? I would still plant the woody species first. So the trees, the shrubs, asparagus. Asparagus takes 3 years before you can eat it. Not that you can eat it, before you can eat it and not kill the plant, right? So that's something that you want to start right away. The things that will take time to gain ground. So I would do that first.
Strawberries take 2 years.
It's 3 years from seed, but if you buy the crowns, it's usually 2 years from crowns.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something. So like if you want artichokes, those tend to produce pretty quick, but that's still a permanent plant. Think about your permanent plants that are not woody as well. So like longevity spinach is something that's not woody, but it's a kind of a forever plant, unless, if things freeze and you're in a freezing area, you might have different plants to deal with. But
now lemon balm winters well, and it comes back every year.
Yeah, most mint
like a
families
mint, so it's almost impossible to kill.
Mm-hmm. It is in the mint family. So anything with a square stem, if you feel the stem and it's square, it's really weird that it's square in nature, right? But anything with a square stem is in the mint family. And I'm going to say it can be invasive because mint family is mostly invasive, which is good.
Yeah, you want to put it in a contained area and make sure you cut all the leaders away.
and cut it before it seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But those are things you can add. Another thing that I would do, which I have done and have seen a really, really big improvement since I did, is adding wood chips. So if you add wood chips to a food forest situation or to, your trees, basically, that has a whole lot more. I just found an ant. Oh, he's gone. Um, that will actually form these fungal networks. So you have fungal dominated compost for wood chips and bacterial dominated compost for like leaves and stuff like that. It's best to have, you have both, but for the fungal dominated helps the trees more, and the bacterial dominated helps your garden plants, like annual plants, more. So if you have the wood chips, it does a few things. One, it starts that network going, and two, you have these trees that are healthy because they have the network, but also it retains moisture. And in my environment where it gets dry in the summer, having that moisture retained is important. I dug in my pathway when I started doing my manure management, including that into the pathway. When I first dug in, we had not had rain in probably 4 or 5 months, which is regular here. We have winter rain here, and it was moist. Like this far down in the wood chips, it was moist. So that is pretty cool to know that. So that's where I would start, and then I would put in ground covers and stuff like that. When your trees are small, you can do things that grow in edge areas, such as strawberries. So I used to have a lot of alpine strawberries, which is a really good variety, guys. They're like this big. They're so sweet. And so that those are the types of things that you can plant in a space that won't be available later because it will be shaded more. But you have that opportunity to have that edge effect now for the first few years. Yeah, that's where I start. I could design the whole thing. Steve
Okay,
says,
next. Go ahead.
I've been
I was gonna
researching
read.
rabbit foods. How often do you feed your rabbits greens from the garden and grasses? Hardly ever, and I should change that. I had a goal. It's been complicated to actually spend any time to do it, but I had a goal of figuring out all the stuff that rabbits can eat, in my yard and stuff. I know mint is something that can slow lactation, so that I wouldn't advise if they're lactating. Willow is really good. I do feed them willow. I have a volunteer willow. I have a willow that volunteered to grow in my yard. I believe it was a wood chip that came in and got watered. But yeah, willow I give them, and other than that, I should give them more. I've given them comfrey. I need to get more. I need to do root cuttings and get more comfrey going in the yard before that becomes sustainable.
Katrina, I'm going to
Yeah.
interrupt just for a second.
Oh yeah.
I know what quail and rabbits love.
You said lemon balm, right?
Well, not only that, yarrow.
You said that.
They go crazy over yarrow.
I haven't done that yet. I'm kind of afraid to do that because I know that it does stuff with the blood. Like if it's, I don't know if it's a blood thinner or a blood. I know you're not supposed to consume it if you have a blood condition, and I don't know what that means.
That means, yeah. In other words, don't do it if you're on blood thinners.
Yeah.
But
they like it.
Yeah, they love it. They love it. So as an occasional treat, like once a week or something like that.
Right.
But the quail, you can give it to the quail, and they think they're in heaven.
Oh, my quail love
rabbit.
marjoram. I have marjoram right next to the main quail aviary, and I just pick it up and throw it in. Quail love anything green. They go, well, one aviary does. The other one likes pumpkin better. Yeah.
Oh, and I did hear that pumpkin seeds are great for rabbits.
Good to know. Good
Yeah,
to know.
and it's good for deworming and boosting their immunity.
Yeah, I knew about the deworming.
And black sunflower seeds, black oil sunflower seeds or whatever.
Right. That's, I think it's the fats in there. It's good for the coat and good
Hmm.
for something. Something
Hmm.
when they have babies, I think. I don't remember what.
Oh, and oatmeal is good for mothers that just kindled.
Yeah. Steve says, I know you forest a lot for wild or forage a lot for wild foods. I'm a newbie. What resource should I use so I don't end up killing myself eating what I should not? Um, so Steve, first I would learn the plants that are poisonous. And so for where you are, I think it's going to be poison ivy and maybe poison sumac. I don't know about other things. Um, if you're foraging for mushrooms, make sure you have at least three sources, written sources, and then I would also want you to have a couple of people sources. Um, and as long as everything matches, go from there because mushrooms can be dangerous. But other plants, you're going to have to find things for your region. And that knowledge will come with your region. I'm sure there are foraging books in there in your area or for your area. Um, there are also there's like, just like we have, like you're in the quail groups. So just like we have for the quail groups, there's Facebook groups, there's, people that get together and forage and stuff like this. So I think learning from someone local is going to be best. But I would say number one, know the plants you can't eat. So know the ones that are going to be like, yeah, don't do that. um, and then also, if you learn how to identify plants, what you're looking for when you're identifying it, um, then that's going to be better. Um, because once you're able to identify, good morning, once you're able to identify a plant and be confident that that's what it is, then you can move on to the next step. But it is regional. So, yeah, because there's different plants everywhere.
Yeah, and there's different varieties of the same plants.
Yeah, or
And
things
the
that
thing
look
is,
like the same plant.
right. So that's another thing is when you're learning about the bad plants or the good plants, either one, depending on who's teaching you,
Hmm.
ask them how to tell the difference between the bad ones that look alike.
Yeah, like poison hemlock. I don't know how people make this mistake because if you smell poison hemlock, you're not supposed to eat it. I think that's what got Socrates. Is that right? Um,
Yeah.
but poison hemlock um, and carrots have been confused by people lost, who have been lost, and they've eaten that and died.
Well,
Poison hemlock.
one thing on those plants is if it doesn't have the one red bud, I will not eat it because
Yeah,
that's the Queen Anne's lace, which is wild carrots.
right, right. So know what they look like. The poison hemlock, you're gonna, if something smells you're not gonna eat it, or like you shouldn't eat it, don't put it in your mouth like that. That's just, there you go. And then like poison hemlock, it has purple spots on it, so that's an indicator of that one specifically. Yeah, of course I'm going to QuailCon next year. Are you unpacked? Hemlock and yarrow, that gets confused. Okay, they have very different scents, no, smells, and so
And the flower buds are different.
yeah, yarrow, I would say that might be confused if they're young more than anything, but they have a different growth habit as well because the
And their flower heads are different.
mhm.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, hemlock grow, you heard the term grows like a weed? Hemlock can grow like a foot in like a day or two.
Yeah, they get super tall. They can get 9 feet. Yeah, and this is gonna sound crazy, but I'm allergic to it, I think. I would think I'm allergic to the pollen.
Thank you, Rita.
Hi,
And
Rita.
good morning to you.
Yeah. Hopefully that was a good answer. Uh-oh, Andy, you're out feeling under the weather? I just got a notification from my brother that my niece had tested positive for RSV, which we were just over there. So he thinks
And
she's on the downhill, though.
RSV is what they were messing with when they made COVID.
Fun, fun. Yeah. So, but she's doing okay. So, yeah.
So they're related.
But I know there's a lot of stuff going on now, and hopefully you will not get worse. Hopefully you will get better.
Let me show you guys something. Go ahead and keep talking, Katrina, until I get back.
All right. So what else do you guys want to know? I know we talked a little bit about garden stuff. Yeah, something else in the garden that I think I would have done more. There's Lucy is more companion planning for my permanent plants. So like planting legumes that or nitrogen fixtures with those plants. Yeah, that's what I would do. That and then like dynamic accumulators. The quail,
Listen,
very cool.
I
You got
got,
some fat on
no,
there. That's
some
good.
fat that I gathered. I'm going to be separating the fat and putting it in the freezer.
Good,
One
good.
bag is going to be made into jerky, and one bag is going to be made for quail dinners. 6 of these have to be packaged for a customer.
Awesome.
And then out of the bag that comes out of, whatever's left goes into jerky.
Very cool.
But
Very
I'm
cool.
saving the fat for future sausage. I'll
That's
save the
cool.
I'm saving the fat. I have some beef fat in my deep freezer from when I bought that big hunk of beef. So I got that as fat. Then I'm saving all the quail and rabbit fat.
Hmm.
So I'll have plenty of fat for
Sausage.
sausage.
That's awesome. I rendered rabbit fat last year. Yeah. Aw, thank you. We started here before the sun was up. Here. Got up early for Verna. Usually I catch the end. Yeah. Yep. Start drinking your fire cider. And if you haven't made any, I have videos on that. I don't do bees. I am too close to a school, says the ordinances of my town. I would love to. What do you feed your quail? I feed mine bagged food, so it's something that's somewhat local to me. A feed, I think they're out like Sacramento area, but when they are 0 to through 8 weeks old, I feed a 27% turkey starter. So they need the higher protein when they're little. And then when they are adults, I feed the same things I feed my chicken, which is a 16% layer crumble. And I also give them a side dish of extra calcium in case they need it. And they also get stuff. The quail get an awful lot from the garden. They get all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Now, another thing is on those processed birds, I got the freeze dryer full of dog treats and dog food. 2 trays of dog food. That's the innards, undeveloped eggs, livers, gizzards, and intestines. And I had 2 trays of wings and heads.
Awesome. Awesome.
And if anybody wants to know about dogs loving wings, watch this.
Lucy gets a treat.
See, look at they were all the white ones. Now let me see if I can get this so you can see her.
Oh, she already knows. Look at those
Uh-huh.
ears.
See, that is a wing, all feather.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're frozen, Verna. Happy
Yep.
doggy.
Yeah, she jumped up and ate it.
Happy doggy.
I'm having a little problems. I'm seeing auras, so if I don't see somebody's thing, I'll just put it up there whether I see it, read it or not.
So Steve had a question to me. Do I use my freeze dryer as much as I thought I would? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Um, I don't use it as much as I thought I would. I would use it more if I had more time, as in like less actual work time. um, I am using it quite a bit now, but I had a big gap in time where I wasn't using it. I mean, I had plans. I had like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and this. And I did not get through some of it. But part of what I am working on this next year is um, an organization, trying to be more organized and keep track of things. And I think that will help me use it more.
Steve, I freeze dry the wings and the heads and all the innards. I do that as soon as I'm done butchering. I set it up in the freeze dryer. And as I'm then I'll bag everything else up and put it in the refrigerator. Because while I'm processing, I put it all on ice or ice water.
I think the ice water is so much better just because it gets so much more blood out. So if you're finding that you're not liking the flavor as much and you're just putting it in the refrigerator, maybe try soaking it in ice water, and for a while, because that it takes more blood out of the body.
And if you feel the meat is tasteless, that you can't tell the difference between it and anything else, then after you butcher, just put it on a plate with a baggie or in a baggie and just let it go that way.
Yep. Yeah, it depends on what flavor you want. Australia. What time is it in Australia? Aw, Andy Rabbit.
And I am so glad that you made it. And with all the problems we had with your name, oh my goodness. And I mean, I'm looking at your name and I'm typing it, and it got switched around somehow. You know how your fingers have a
Oh
mind
yeah,
of their own.
yeah.
And then you don't see that you got it in one area and didn't get it in the other one. And then you correct it, but then YouTube, when it does the notification, when it does when you're trying to share it out, did not want you change the share out. And I even did the edit that we talked about. This you
Mm-hmm.
gave me at bedtime. And I seen this morning. I did it that way, and it still didn't do it.
So what she's talking about is my last name is Kra, not Kar, and YouTube just once it was set, it was in there. Yeah.
What do you use it for after freeze drying? And it's 12:09 a.m., so it's very late there. What do I use? What the
The
innards
wings?
and that, and the wings and heads are all for the dog. But you could do the same thing with the skin that's full of feathers. If you skin your
I've done that.
tail and the wings, and you could still use them for crafting. But with this mess, even though they're all white, would be beautiful to make angel wings. I still decided Lucy comes first. I don't have time for crafting.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like setting up a store for it.
Yep. Oh, it's New Year's Eve. That is a good point.
It is New
Happy
Year's
New
Eve
Year's
right now to them,
Eve.
Steve,
Hmm.
because it's after 9 I mean, it's after midnight.
That's right. There you go. Fun, fun. Steve is asking, do you ice water the wings too or leave them dry? I think dry
Nope,
because
nope. I just leave them just like when I cut them off. I put them on a tray.
my reasoning for doing ice water is fully to let them go through the rigor mortis process and so the meat becomes more tender. And because I'm not I cut off the wings. The amount of meat in the wing is like this big, and so you're not missing a whole lot. Um, so yeah, I let them dry.
Yeah, Andy, that's true, but buttermilk is better
I've heard that too.
because it has a higher lactate acid.
Yeah, I've heard that about milk too.
Oh, I hate this when you're going blind because of an oral.
Uh-oh.
It's one of those times when you feel like you're danged if you do and danged if you don't.
Yep. Buster says that he does that on deer with buttermilk.
Buttermilk, yeah.
How much buttermilk do you use for a deer? That's what I want to know. Like,
Enough to cover up the meat that you're soaking at the time.
that's got to be expensive.
Sometimes I do. Right now, I'm not.
Verna has winter.
Well, not only that, I am limited on space. I'm trying to get rid of a bunch of junk so I can have room for more stuff. I do tell you what I did buy, and I haven't opened it yet because it came when I was busy processing.
Mail call.
Yeah, this is for all animals, two and four legged. In other words, including me.
Is it a sprouter?
Oh, it's more than just a sprouter. It's the stand and all. Oh, it was bigger than a box inside of a box.
It's going to be this big. Steve says, Verna, do like me, put everything in the boat. You don't need all the time.
I don't have the boat. I don't even have a car or a truck or a van.
Andy Rabbit says, also, she said, use milk on a sunburn, soaked in a rag in the milk, and hold on your burn. I don't know
Yep.
about that, but I know vinegar works to get rid of mosquito bites. You got to hold there for a while, but yeah.
Well, I tell you
And
what, if you get a burn, cold water with vinegar
yep.
helps draw the heat out.
So we have guesses. Anime's guessing garden, aquaponics, and Dawn says, I can't wait to see what Verna
Yeah.
has.
No. But let me see if it's got a picture in here. You got to dig through the parts.
Lucy's interested. She's like, maybe it's for me.
See all these parts
Yeah, you're making a jungle gym.
for plants.
Oh.
Ah. Okay, the trays are smaller than I thought. Here's a tray. Well, this is the drip tray.
Andy says, I see green. It's a sprouter.
Yep.
Wow. You're going all in.
Yeah, you can use this as this is the lid for the sprouter. Okay. And then you'll have the bottom part too. Yep, it's got a lot. Okay, here's the bottom part of the tray. This is made so you don't have to use dirt or
Right.
paper towels or anything like that.
Andy Rabbit says nice, woohoo, and Anime says close enough.
And these go into these to make the frames. And it's
Stacking.
stands up. Yep.
Dawn says that she has the trays, not the stands, though. That's what I use, the green trays. Yay, Verna.
Yeah, I got the whole schmear.
Uh-oh.
So that's another thing. But I got to get the other
Matt
16
says I
birds.
feel...
Pardon?
I was working... So, Matt says, I was working in a kitchen yard years ago, maybe, and fell into a deep fryer. My left arm is all new skin. Oh my gosh. That is tremendous.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know that I could select that.
No, you can't. I have to.
Oh, you did. Okay. Wow. Wow. Well, we're glad you didn't fall all the way in.
No, I know another little trick to use.
What's your trick?
Oh, on the paper. No, I will start off by 24 hours in a jar of water. I know how to cheat. I
Yeah.
know, but I gotta get this set up. I might be able to find a place in the front room here. I'm pretty crowded in here as well. But I've got 16 more birds to process and a 3-tier cage to get rid of. So I can put 3-tier. Yeah. If you guys could see my mind, then you'd know why I got the migraine. I can't speak as fast as my mind is going.
You got the whole Fantasia thing going on.
I got a whole world of Fantasia, multiverse going on.
Oh, Steve has an interesting tip. He says on my sprouter, I started using blue shop towels, then realized that mistake that it made it mold so quickly, so that it holds
Yeah,
too much
you don't want to use shop towels. I hate this chair.
water.
You don't want to use shop towels on that. You're not supposed to have to use anything if they are too small. Then you just start them off in the jar until they get a little roots to come out,
Yeah,
and then you pour them in the tray.
Dawn says the smaller seeds that the cheat won't work with alfalfa. You might
If
need
you
some.
wait until they get some roots, it will. Yeah, and it's a great way to lower your feed costs too. Like I said, you got to wait until it roots. You have to think outside the box. So at what stage is it too big to fall through? That's when you use it. And you guys know I'm great at figuring out ways to do things that can't be done. Start a pit of coffee.
Probably a pot of coffee.
Yeah.
Unless she needs a
But
whole pit. She might need one
yeah,
today.
that's what I'm feeling. Okay, now I can see again, but now I'm getting a headache. So you know what it means.
Oh.
or the outside of 2 boxes. When I say the box, I'm talking about the multiverse, Matt. Everything's multiverse today because I'm seeing more than depth.
So Dawn's saying basically by the time it won't fall through, they're done, right? That's what you're
Well,
saying,
see,
Dawn?
I'm not gonna do Aguilera there anyhow because Aguilera can wait until it's time for the green stalk.
Right. So arugula you would actually grow for the greens, not for a sprout.
Right.
Safety tips. He's sleeping.
Oh, you all, I hate to tell you, but on January 3rd, in the evening one, that's Wednesday,
There's a tip. Here's a safety tip
we
coming up right
will
there.
be having the safety crew here, Melanie and Ricky.
They know their stuff. They know their stuff. They actually teach safety stuff. Safety tips. Doesn't matter what power tool you're using. Wear safety glasses and keep your fingers out of places they shouldn't be.
And
Make
whether
sure.
you're using a saw or a knife in the kitchen, get those cut resistant gloves.
Yep. Yep. And always cut away from yourself, never towards yourself. There you go. There's your tip. Dawn grows everything, Aqua. It's
Uh-huh.
awesome.
That's because you're looking for 4-sided. You need the 8-sided. Good morning, Sue.
Good morning. Yeah, I've grown them in mason jars too. And I actually have sprouts that I bought a while ago. Not sprouts. I have the seeds for sprouts that I bought a while ago, and I still haven't done it. I've done it in the past, but that's how I do it, is in the mason jar.
Well, make sure you're here Wednesday night at 7.
Yeah,
Oh,
Melanie and Ricky.
I do have one thing to tell everybody. Tomorrow night there's still no live stream for my shire.
He's busy.
Yeah.
He's
'Cause
busy.
I asked him earlier, and then I noticed that he answered me and he said no.
Safety squint isn't a thing. Your eyelashes aren't as strong as spider webs. Oh boy. Yeah, no, safety glasses are a thing that. Okay, here's
And
my example. I was my very first job. I was on a trail crew up in the Sisters Ranger District in Oregon, Forest Service, on a Youth Conservation Corps trail crew, YCC, and you know we had safety glasses, but we didn't really use them unless you were using a chainsaw, and we weren't using chainsaws
come
because
on.
we were kids. It was the adults that used the chainsaws. So we used the Pulaskis, which is an axe on one end and a hoe, an axe and a hoe on the back end of it. And so we're chopping trees down. We're chopping limbs off. We are, if there's something fallen in a trail, we chop through that. And so there's a lot of chopping going on. And I was wearing sunglasses. Thank goodness I was wearing something, because I had a block about that big come back and hit me right here in the eye. But luckily, my sunglasses didn't shatter or anything like that. But luckily, I did have my sunglasses on. And I actually now use, well, I have some that are not, but I now use sunglasses that are safety glasses. So I know around here, the Ace in the next town over has them, but you can get sunglasses that don't look like safety glasses. They just look like sunglasses. You can even get polarized sunglasses that are safety glasses. So there's my tip, is if you already have sunglasses that are safety glasses, they're really easy to find. And
And
they're really easy
but
to use.
I will say one thing. It all depends on what you're doing with that you need the safety glasses with.
Mm-hmm.
If you're if it is sawing, using the saw or sawing something and something that causes fine particles, safety glasses that look like glasses are no good.
Right.
You
So if you
need the
need
one
safety goggles.
you need the ones that look like underwater goggles.
Right. And those are different. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's my tip. The safety people are Melanie and Ricky.
Yeah,
They are in Tennessee. They used to live um in Las Vegas. So you might know their names on YouTube, like when they talk when they chat, is Witch
Psycho
Doctor and
Ward.
Psycho Ward.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a friend that got sunglasses that are his new video camera. That is freaky. That is freaky. We got spy stuff going on, huh?
Yeah, but that's kind of stuff's been out for people don't realize it's been out for generations. It's just getting popular now.
Right. Don lying to us. No, I'm kidding. Lentils are good. I haven't sprouted them yet. I know we talked about that.
If lentils and rice, whole grain rice, not white rice, you know, is good for your quail when you have feed issues because usually the nutrition that's lacking are the ones that help for egg formation.
Right. Yeah, I know. I remember when you looked that up at one point, um, and that
And
was.
we've actually had people on Facebook that actually asked me about it, and within a week after them adding that to the quail's diet, they started laying again.
Hmm. Now I want to clarify that this is cooked rice,
Yes,
not raw rice,
cooked
because
rice
that's not
and
what you give to
you
your
cook
birds.
the rice and lentils together.
Right. I just figured that if people don't know, you should not give you know rice that is not cooked to your birds because that expands when it
No,
hits.
they also cannot digest it that easy,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's pure starch.
Yep. Sunglasses are better at filming than most expensive cameras. A long time ago, I saw in Big Five, I got some binoculars that were supposed to take pictures, which is a cool idea. You can zoom in and take a picture really far away. Yeah, they sucked. I returned them. So that was a while ago. Lysosine.
Yeah, that and a couple other things that was in it. Let me see if this is the old notebook or not. No, it's in the quail notebook. Hold on, let me see if I can find the quail notebook. Ah,
She's like, I know I have this written down somewhere.
it's in the quail notebook. See, well, you can't see because I got the camera still off because I was. It's in my quail notebook. I think I got this from Matt.
Right.
Okay. Lysine, methylo, and it's cystine. Okay, but evidently the things that I found to stop it was and that was a year ago the problem came in.
Hmm.
But everybody that's had that problem is still getting bad feet occasionally. Everybody has that problem once they do what I said about cooking your lentils and rice together.
Hmm.
Wait until it cools and then give a scoop to your birds. every time you feed them? Yeah.
Andy says she might need a pit of coffee today. Yeah, Dawn's really good at aquaponics. Not aquaponics.
Yeah,
Hydroponics.
aquaponics.
Hydroponics.
Yeah. And yeah, that's right. Because aqua's with fish.
We need to get you fish so that I can say it correctly. Hmm. Oh, you do as a maintenance. That's awesome.
That's cool, Matt. That way you know they're getting the vitamins and that they need.
Right. Right.
And and when I load up my freeze dryer trays when I'm butchering. Now I do put the organs and intestines in ice water in a separate bowl from the quail. And then after I'm done with all my butchering, I will put that into it. But the wings and the heads go straight on the trays as soon as I cut them off the bird.
And that's what I need to do. Um, I've done it where it goes in the freezer and then it goes over. But yeah.
Yeah, because it only takes. I did it that and see. I got the freeze dryer going at 5 o'clock in the morning. By that evening, it was dry and ready to go. But I was too busy to deal with it, so I let it run overnight again. So I let it run about 30, 36 hours because you got eggs in all different ages of development in there. Some
Hmm.
that are stuck in a chute getting ready to come out, and you want to make sure all of that is freeze dried.
Right. And that's something, Steve, that I would add to the answer earlier is that sometimes organization for me to do as much freeze drying as I want falls through when it's like, oh, this is going to take an extra day. Oh, well, I guess, and then I'm not ready to deal with things on that day. So that's another thing is figuring out what day things are going to be done.
And that's another thing that's cool with a freeze dryer is you can't over dry it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you
Not going to
let it
burn.
run for 2 days because you forgot or you're too busy, it's just hold it for you to baggage up.
Yeah.
It's costing you a little more electricity, but who gives a darn? Because
Right.
sometimes your time is more valuable than the electricity.
True. True. And once it doesn't cost that much relative, right? That much electricity to hold something at a temperature as to bring it up or down to that temperature.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, saying aqua means water, and that's true. While aqua does mean water, in aquaponics versus hydroponics, aquaponics means that there's fish involved, which they get the nutrients from the fish poop, and hydroponics is just the water, which they usually have some sort of nutrient addition that people add in to the water. Yeah. Yeah, so Andy Rabbit, I was thinking like if you did do aquaponics, you could even do like I had this idea when I was talking about aquaponics with someone. You could even do like a wall in your house that's fish tank, like a fancy fish tank thing. And then up top is your aquaponic plants, and you could see all these fish, and you could even grow like rare fish to sell to pet stores and stuff like that in that system if you wanted
Or
to,
halibut. I
or
think
yeah, either
halibut.
things to eat or things to sell. I don't enjoy the flavor of fish, so I would, if I did that, I would probably do like a fancy fish that breeds and all that.
Yeah, like tropical fish,
Right.
freshwater fish.
Right. Oh, Aaron's here. Welcome.
Congratulations, Aaron. You're about 2 months behind us.
So Aaron, you're winterizing the animals, but you don't really have winter.
It's good. It's cold down there today, but they're supposed to be having some winter coming.
Are you having winter? You're having winter this year? I guess you do have winter. It's just very short. Andy, you can be the first one to have it. Aaron has goats that are this big.
Can't eat them.
Well, you could. You can eat anything once, Verna.
Well, let's just put it this way: you might need surgery to get it out.
There you go. There you go. Oh man.
Well, we were supposed to get flurries, but we haven't so far. And when we had that winter weather advisory,
Mm-hmm.
I seen some along the cracks or something. It looked like somebody juiced a bunch of snowflakes. You know,
We
a
had
little.
we had 0.97 of an inch of rain overnight, mostly overnight. It's 24 hours, but it's mostly overnight. And I checked it early, but I don't think it's rained since then. You made me get up early. Hang some philodendrons in your fish container. They put out roots and clean and suck up the fish poop for crystal clear water. That would work. Or you could plant plants that make food, and they will soak up that fish poop and use it into your food. Fourth inch of snow. So 39 degrees, huh, Aaron? I think we need to rewind. What happened?
That's the last thing he said.
I don't know.
I don't know where Andy got girlfriend at.
I think you do need a pit of coffee.
Frigid. Maybe that's why.
I think you got to work on your pit of coffee, Andy.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm almost done with my first pot already.
I had something different today because I got some the other day, and I always get a large, and then you put it in the fridge and use it for several days. It's called atole. So atole de noes, atole de noes. It is a Mexican drink made with masa and I don't ever say it right. The little cone of sugar, the Mexican cone sugar, starts with a P. Cinnamon. The noes is the it's a nut. I can't remember the name of it right now. Anyway, there's a nut in there, and it's all blended together, and it's super good. Yeah. Yep. Steve says, come spring, what actions are you going to employ to stop sending your storms out here? Steve, I don't send storms out there. Oh, man. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. No, we just got almost an inch of rain, and I don't know what's coming, but they're supposed to rain most of the week. Like we get a little bit of a break tomorrow and Monday, but it's supposed to rain from there.
Katrina, would you like to see two strange jumbo quail eggs?
Yes.
Here's one, 20 grams.
Okay.
This one's 21 grams.
That's like my huge one that I had that I did not ever
long and skinny. Because look at
how.
Yeah, long and skinny because the other one's fatter and yeah.
That's pretty funny.
But the birds that laid those that were processed.
Was it in them still?
No.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, I have a couple of egg. One lady, I think, that's having big eggs right now for some weird reason. Um, yeah, double yolks. Anime asked.
Yes, they're usually double yolks. They're not over 23 grams, so they're not going to be an egg inside of an egg.
Right, right. Which I had once.
I did too because I even
Yeah,
showed it.
yeah. It's crazy. I wish
You
I
get a
had a
full
scale
egg inside of a full egg.
with a shell and everything. I
Yeah.
wish I would have had an accurate scale at that time because I didn't. But it was like 30 something. It was like almost a chicken egg size. Is ridiculous. Aaron.
Well, that's what this is. This is almost, because look to my palm. Wait a minute, I can't do it that way. To my palm, it takes up most of my
Mm-hmm.
palm. It's 2 inches. It's, no, it's a little over. Wait a minute. That's about an inch and a half. I know, I got a tape measure here somewhere. There it is. Uh, this is about 1 3/4 inches long.
And it came out of a word this big. Like just for reference. For if anybody's watching that's
And this
not.
is just under an inch and a half.
Yeah. It's amazing to me how big, and they do it every day, right? It's not like you got to save up for it. They do it every day. And then also, like, that's a lot of calcium that they have to put into their body every day because it has to go out of their body every day. Plus, they have to have calcium for their regular, working body. So they have
These
to have lots
birds
of
that are
calcium.
laying these eggs lay large eggs every time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All my jumbo wilds, I got about 4 ladies that lay large eggs.
And they tend to do that for like once they do it, they keep on doing it.
No, it was coming every day, Steve. I was getting long eggs every day.
They already know, huh? Hers grow extra fast, Steve.
The majority of my jumbo quail do too. Jumbo wilds.
Yeah, almost as big as silky eggs. I Matt, I have a live from. Do you remember when that was, Verna? It was like last year sometime with that
Gotta don't ask me time wise.
the double egg. So it was a full on egg inside an egg, like a shell and everything.
Uh-huh.
And we cut it open on a live. And
Dawn, I don't think that that bothers them. If they're not having prolapse, which these birds are not, then it's the large eggs do not affect their life. Now, birds are like female humans. When they come into this world with as many eggs as they're going to lay in their lifetime. Now, they don't start off looking like that. It's just down the road to maturity they do.
jelly egg beans. Oh, this is interesting. I found the longer they are on higher protein starter feed, the more often I'd get the extra large eggs. Once they got used to the lower protein, they calmed down on egg size. Interesting.
No, these
You remember.
mostly the one that laid this. It was after their second or third molt. Good morning, Drunken Chef.
Yeah, it's interesting when you see these eggs because sometimes they're so huge and you're like, how big are you? Like, did that really come out of you? Yeah.
And what is so bad is that, yeah, they do it all the time.
Hmm. Well, that's what I'm saying. They do it every day. It's not
And
like,
they're, well, the eggs can increase with each molt, the egg
mhm.
size.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy.
the habanero salt from Chef is great on hard boiled quail eggs.
Let me show you guys. I'm gonna go get. We made freeze dried roasted pepper powder. You can go get that and
Oh,
show you.
yeah, I seen that.
Just a minute. All right. So we had some yesterday with eggs. It was really good. Good morning. What's the best way to season eggs for your good egg? Are quail eggs healthier for the human brain? It is better to eat than chicken eggs. They are higher in all the nutrients than chicken eggs. I don't know about specifically for the brain, but they have everything better.
They also have more, have the B complex vitamins that chicken eggs do not have.
Right. Yep. They are better in a lot of ways. So this is a roasted red pepper. These are the spicy peppers that I freeze dried, and you can see it's nice and powdery. And look at that color. And the key to this, it smells amazing, is roasting. So you roast it before freeze drying. You can also dehydrate and then put in the blender. But it was so good. It smells amazing. And I did the same thing with cayennes, and these are homegrown. You know, all of these are homegrown cayenne peppers, and but look at that. I mean, it's so much brighter than what you get in the store. That's what impressed me about it, and it's not getting the right color really on the video, but um,
Videos usually don't.
yeah, but it's so much brighter and more vibrant than what's in the store, and I kind of wonder like if that has to do with the freeze drying or if that has to do with it being fresh or what. You need to make
Is
your own paprika. Yeah, Steve.
both.
Yeah.
I think it's both, Katrina. It's the freeze dryer.
It's
The
what?
freeze dryer it makes the vibrant. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is like the orange. I can tell the difference just by looking at it, but you can see this one right here is the roasted red, and then this is the cayenne. Oops, that one's the cayenne.
I'm trying to find a certain thing here to answer about the food.
The nutrition.
Yeah, just a second.
Yeah. So Don says smoked paprika would be cool to make. Absolutely. Or, I mean, there's all sorts of these flavors that you can do, and then turn it into a powder, and put it on something. Um, I need to. I At some point I was collecting old spice bottles, and I'm hoping I didn't throw them away because I think I should put some of this in a spice bottle instead of a jar. Be more useful that way.
Well, you want to keep your big container, your big jar for all of it, and then the
And
spice
smaller
bottles to
amounts.
keep in the kitchen.
Exactly. Exactly. Steve says garlic, paprika, celery salt, and pepper, my must have spices.
Hmm.
Dill is another one for me. And dill and cayenne go very well together. Someone was asking about seasoning eggs. If dill and cayenne together, so good. If you like spicy. Dawn's asking, how would you smoke it without a grill? A smoker?
Uh,
Or on a fire?
yeah, you have to have fire there.
Yeah. You could
Okay,
also
which is
roast it. That wouldn't give the smoke, but it would give a richer flavor. 'Cause roasting peppers gives a much richer flavor than if you just dehydrate them or dry them. It's the same thing with smoking. So you smoke peppers, you get that smoked flavor into it. So yeah.
okay. Now we got something that we can show. Smile now and cry later. And anybody that has been curious about this,
Andy says dill's good on rabbit. It's good on most things.
now I'm going to tell you this is for 9-gram eggs,
Those are
which
very small.
and very those are standard size, like quail eggs. Calories is only 14, 1 gram of protein. Chlorine, 4% of the daily value. This is just for one little egg, which is about the size of 1/4 to 1/6 of a chicken egg. And that's folic acid, 2%, botanic acid, vitamin B6, 6%, phosphorus, psyllium.
It has a lot of good stuff.
Right.
Oh, Matt's heading out. Have a good day, Matt.
Have a blessed day, Matt. See you tonight at 9:30 Eastern, 7:30 Mountain.
Or Monday on my live at 6 p.m.
Yep.
Pacific.
Okay. Quail eggs are rich in nutrients and full of health promoting antioxidants that may help reverse cellular damage and treat allergy symptoms. Now, I do know, because I've even talked to doctors, that cancer doctors will advise their patients on chemotherapy to eat quail eggs. Now you know why.
There's a lot of studies, like, don't just Google, but look at real um, studies, like papers that have been published. There is a lot that say so much about quail eggs, and specifically a lot of it is with the yolk. I mean, not the yolk, the whites. The whites tend to be what people are studying more. Um, and then sometimes they do hold the whole egg. And there's a lot of um, really good positive results from using and from consuming these. Yeah. Andy wants a link to what you're looking at, Verna.
Oh, okay, awesome. I'm going to send this link to you guys.
And Steve says, plus the protein in a quail egg is different and better than the protein in a chicken egg. It's different.
Right, and it's the same protein that they use to make vaccines and stuff in.
Yep.
Because they switched it over to that. What happens when a quail molts? You go ahead and explain that. It's on your side, so I'll let you
Okay.
explain it.
What happens when a quail molts? So molting happens a few times a year. Winter time tends to be the big molt. They have a lesser molts throughout the year, but they lose their feathers and gain more feathers. That is kind of the quick and dirty. That's what a molt is. And in quail, what you will often see is I don't know that I've ever noticed a male molting. I think they must do theirs more gradual. But the females, at least, they will lose most of their back feathers and their tail feathers, and they will look very not great. They will look like they've been beat up, but there's no like blood, right? But they lose a lot of their feathers and just walk around without all their feathers. And during that time, they often stop laying. However, my jumbo wilds haven't really done that. Like a few of them stopped laying, but most of them kept laying during their molt. During the molt, they lose their feathers and then they have to grow it all back. So, like we brush our hair or don't brush our hair and our hair comes out, and every day we lose hair, every day we gain hair. There's dogs that have hair and there's dogs that have fur, right? So if you're brushing a dog that has hair, you're gonna get hair out on the brush all the time. If you're brushing a dog that has fur, you're gonna have times of the year where you get more fur off, and times of the year where you're really just not getting anything off of them. It's kind of like that. The fur for quail is that they will lose feathers here and there throughout the year, but during the molt is really when they're like, okay, we're gonna get rid of old feathers and get new feathers. Like that's really what it is. And then when they are building back those feathers, they need a lot of nutrition. So like that's when they need a lot more protein. That's when they need a lot more
That's when it's good to give them the lentils and rice with their food.
right. So they need more things during that time. And during that time, they actually it's good to feed them back eggs, honestly, during that time, because it has a lot of those things in it. Yeah.
Another thing is with the males, you said you don't really notice it. You usually see it in their wing feathers.
Right. That makes sense.
They look like they're beat up.
Yeah. Well, they
But
might
then,
be, right? The females are
no,
like,
but on these I know they haven't been fighting.
yeah,
They're lovers, not fighters.
yeah.
And the loud one that kept saying "okay" was processed. Now I have
Now he's not okay.
Now I have two others that are saying "okay," but they say it softer.
Okay. Maybe
Yeah.
they'll live, huh? Maybe that's what they're saying.
They're in the side that's supposed to live. Yes.
Sue says there are full molts and partial molts. If they're partial, they'll do it 2 to 3 times a year. That makes sense. So why they usually do it in the fall or winter, the big molt, for the females at least, is because that's when they're not going to be on eggs. Now I know, people say that there's not a whole lot of, nesting that's happening with them, but they're still a bird. And I mean, I have a breedy lady right now in my aviary, but they do tend to, okay, we're done with taking the potential to take care of babies. Now's the time to molt. Yeah. Andy says, go try to take a good picture of males. You will see they're molting. Mine had no tail feathers or pretty feathers at all, more like under feathers. I didn't notice till I wanted pictures. That's a good tip. And of course you want nice pictures, right? Now,
have a blessed day, Desiree.
Bye, Anime.
Yeah, her name's Desiree.
Desiree.
Yeah. Um, we had Peaceful Des come in, and they both got excited because they're both Desirees. What's the
There's a lot
difference
of
between?
differences.
Well, one thing you go from a few inches tall to few feet tall.
Yeah, what's the difference between a quail and a guinea? A guinea is going to be more chicken sized. A quail is going to be this big. They're different species. They're much different. If you look them up, like if you look up pictures of them, you're going to see very big differences. They sound different. I've never eaten a guinea, but I've heard that their meat is dark, so they might both have dark meat. Someone can correct me if they've ever eaten a guinea. But yeah, they're good.
PJ's not
True,
in here, so we can't find out.
right? Um, yeah. Oh, the calico quail. So my nana was a calico quail. So I won some eggs off of something, and only 5 of them hatched. And I don't recommend that person, but I'm not going to say who that person was. Uh,
That's
but
good.
she was the only one that really did well. There was 5 that hatched. One of them died. One of them got beat up by the other ones, and I had to put out of its misery. And then it was 2 males and her, but she was so little, and all the rest of them were boys. And she crowed when she was little. I think because maybe she had to blend in. I don't know, but she crowed when she was little. I thought she was a boy until all of a sudden there's eggs show up. Um, but she was a really, really broody girl. Never hatched anything. She was broody like 8 or 9 times until I was like, I'm going to take you into my brooder and see if you will raise my chicks. And oh my gosh, guys, if you have a broody quail and you hatch regularly, do that. Bring your broody quail in when she's broody, give her chicks, and you will have the quietest chicks ever. Now, that doesn't translate to quiet adults, but at least you'll sleep through the night if you have them in your house.
You know what? Let me check something here.
Yeah. So guinea have more dark meat than a chicken, Steve says. But yeah, she was a calico, and she was pretty girl, bow-legged, but she was good mama to the babies.
Okay, I was thinking calico that my shire had calico, but no, they have
No,
the Cosmo.
yeah, they don't have calico. Calico's pretty, but I wouldn't get it from the person that I got it from. Again, I won eggs online. um, I recommend my shire. That's I've only gotten eggs from 2
Well,
places. He's the only one I've bought from, and his stock is good, and he answers everybody's questions, and he's so helpful and instrumental in the quail community, and I support him 100%. Yeah.
I know another place that sells quail eggs that I would recommend, and
Oh,
that is
Aaron?
Gidro's Family Farm.
I haven't
Fam-
got eggs from you guys from well, if he's still on. I haven't gotten eggs from them.
Let me see.
But yeah, I agree. I would think that Aaron and Christina do a good job. Good peeps. What does a broody quail mean? Ooh, a broody bird. Usually you hear it with chickens a lot. It means that they are um, wanting to hatch babies. So what they'll do is they'll end up sitting on eggs, and they sit down hard on them, and they will want to incubate eggs. Now for quail, that incubation period is 14, 15 days. And then for the next couple days, they don't move. Like the first 14 days about, they can get up and eat, they can get up and drink, they can do those things. But then the last couple days after that, they sit hard on them. And when we incubate in our incubators, that would be what we call lockdown. It's an increase in humidity, and that is accomplished by the mom sitting hard on them, like not hard like squashing, but she's sitting there and she's not moving. She probably is not going to be eating or drinking during that time, but she's increasing the humidity so that her babies can hatch out. And so that's what being broody is it's a hen that wants to raise
Incubator.
babies. And in the case of chickens, it can be really hard to break. I haven't tried to break a quail, but it can be really hard to break because they just sit in the nest box all the time. And even if you take the eggs out, she'll still sit there because I don't know why. She's broody on nothing. But they just have this drive, especially in the summertime. If you don't have lights on your quail or your chickens, especially in the summertime, they'll be like, I need to have babies, and they'll have their own eggs. They'll have their the other lady's eggs in there. She'll move so that they can lay in a pile, and then she'll just sit down hard on them. And one mama has the potential to hatch babies from all the other ladies in the area. So it's not necessarily only her eggs too. Hopefully that was a good explanation. Hey, Amy's here.
Hello, Amy. And like you said, if you got one that's broody all the time, put her in your brooder.
It was a life changer. And then she had 3, I think. I think she had 3 before she passed. And she was just old. She was one of my really old ladies. And it's kind of funny though, she never got picked on in the aviary. I think she was pretty high on the pecking order, even though she was pretty small. She was definitely a standard size. And she laid eggs up until her last day. Yeah. Yeah, so Andy Rabbit says Milo chicken was sitting. I went to put some quail eggs under her. She was sitting on a rock. Yeah, she's going to hatch that thing. She's going to have rockettes.
Then we'll have to take him to New York.
Sorry. I don't know if that was stupid or creative.
Never be sorry for the humor that comes out.
Oh, good, because it comes out all the time.
If it's too dry for some, I can understand it.
Okay, Andy appreciated it at least.
Well, Andy's got our humor.
There you go. Amy appreciates it too. Amy's ramping up for incubation. Awesome. I need to collect eggs again, but I'm not going to do that until, well, I probably could, but I want to see if my broody mama has babies. She's still sitting on them. I left before Christmas. She had been sitting on them. I should look and see when that video was. She'd been sitting on them a couple days before I told you guys about them. Yeah.
She almost spewed the computer.
Oh. Decorations.
Yep. My mind's going blank. My anxiety's gone away, and so the anxiety medicine's still in my system. So now it's just kind of making me like ready for a nap. But I couldn't take a nap if I wanted to right now because the doors are open because Lucy's out.
There you go. There you go.
Yes, quails do communicate with each other. They have different chirps.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get mad,
everybody knows.
Oh yes, and that chirping is so funny. With me raising them in my apartment, I can hear everything going on. And when they do that mad thing, if you go in there and watch, they're in the center of the cage, and now the others are right up against the walls.
Yeah, and when I brought the Nana bird into the brooder, she had something that I hadn't even heard before because I wasn't out in the aviary all the time when I'd had them over there. So that was basically her chirps for that was another form of communication. Yeah. We have question marks. Yeah, so yes, they do communicate with each other. They have tons of different there's like the male quail will do their crow. So that's something the males do. They make a cricket sound. They make I used to have my original male is still the sweetest male I've ever had. And he would sometimes in the crumbles of the food, they'll find a big pellet. And boy, that's exciting if you've ever seen them find that. But he would take it and he'd call over a lady and give it to her. So like he was actually giving her, this wonderful thing. Yeah. And it was a full on conversation that they had during that. So if you're around really any animal, you're going to observe that communication. But Ken, how far north are you of the Bay Area? He's in California.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
Yeah. The mad chatter. Yeah, Amy's, because they yeah. Yeah, they definitely talk to each other. They definitely do that for sure.
And the vines, you can dry the vines and use those for weaving and stuff.
For the loofah
vines. Yep.
Loofah vines.
He's
I
in
have seeds. Sacramento County. Okay. So Ken, you're close to Linda. She's sometimes on. I'll introduce you when you guys are both on.
Linda Easton Waller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
She was on the last live stream. Yeah. She was on Wednesday evening.
Yeah. Yeah, they're so much fun. They're so much fun. And you can just sit in the aviary. That's another reason I have an aviary. You can sit in the aviary and like they'll just, once they're used to you, once they know who you are, they'll just do whatever the activity they're going to do. Yeah, and the cricket.
Wait a minute, Amy. Andy wants your email address or your Facebook name.
I've heard the females do a cricket sound too. Yeah.
The females do the cricket sound, and that usually means they're content.
Mm-hmm. And they also do a song after laying an egg. The egg
or
song.
while they're laying an egg.
Wilder. Yeah. Which is a much different sound than the chicken lays. It's chicken makes after laying an egg. Yeah. Now, Amy says had a break a blood feather last night and had a few to wash, so I put them in a box in the kitchen to dry. Eventually opened the box and they just stayed in the box watching and talking. It was cool. I haven't had blood feathers. I haven't had to deal with that. Have you had to deal with that, Verna?
Nope.
Yeah, but they definitely talk to each other. Yeah. I know for bleeding, I haven't used it on animals, and I'm not going to give like medical advice, but yarrow stops bleeding. So yarrow, I know Matt was talking about yarrow earlier. I actually have some that I just dried and kind of crumbled up and put in a jar, and I've used it for that. I didn't use it just to test it. It happened that I stepped on a piece of glass like a couple days after I dried this stuff, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll try it. Dunk, and it works. But it's also called warrior's wart and carpenter's wart, because if you get cut or injured, you put the leaf on and it stops bleeding. So
Hold on a second. You got Steve. Did you take care of that for me?
uh-oh. Was there somebody?
Yep, we got a problem.
Hi, Bayou. Or Bayou. Amy makes a plantain comfrey salve. That is good.
Steve must have got rid of it.
For beak injury. You can also use cornstarch for like we cut over after as a chicken. We trimmed her nails. Her sisters don't need their nails trimmed. She's top dog in the Rackin' house. So what she does is her sisters will dig the holes and then she will take over. She'll steal them from them. So her nails don't get worn down as much. So we end up cutting them with some like dog nail cutters. She's so dramatic. We always have some cornstarch available in case we cut down to the quick, but it hasn't happened yet. So hopefully it never will. But there you go. What is a blood feather is the question. Go ahead.
I haven't come across it.
I haven't come across it, but it's a pin feather. It's a pin feather that it gets damaged somehow and it bleeds a lot. And who was the person that had that? Was it Amy? You can answer the question better because you've had it. But it's a feather that ends up bleeding. So the feathers
going right on the vein.
Yeah, they're right where they come out. They're attached and they're like more living. If you cut a feather further back, it's not going to hurt the bird. But if it's right near the tip, then that's where things are attached and stuff.
Yes, sugar. That is quail are dark meat. That's why I'm raising rabbit for white meat. So I have both. Yeah, quail is a totally dark meat. And was it somebody hunted or did somebody raise quail that you got to taste?
Thank you, Steve. I'm actually.
It was somebody just popped in and then left, and I tried to stop it. It happened at 12:15. It was just an idiot by the name of Check, Check.
Okay.
I got a feeling I know who it is.
Got it. Okay, Amy has an answer. As a feather is growing in, it has a blood supply seen on chickens more so for me. Most feathers aren't blood feathers. Typically, blood feathers are primary and secondary feathers. Yeah, so as it's growing at the point that it's growing, it has that, but then it can get damaged and then it can just bleed.
Yeah, and that would be harder to stop than a cut. That is wonderful, sugar. So now you know that you can eat it. Now all you got to do is try some of the quail eggs.
You can tell a blood feather by a darker shaft on the wings. That makes sense. Thank you, Amy, for enlightening us.
I mean, I've had quail for 5 years now, and I never had that problem, so.
I haven't either. Yeah. But that's why we have a community and we can talk about these things so that when we have that problem, we know what the issue is. right?
Right.
That's what I like about.
Well, I've heard about it before, and all I knew is that sometimes if they break a feather, it may bleed, and that's what it is. But I've never seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, mostly when you get some that are almost as big as a chicken egg. That's about the size of
Bantam.
what are those?
Bantam.
Yeah, bantam, but no, I'm thinking of a certain kind. It's got the feathery head
Silky.
and silky. Yeah. When you got a migraine, it's a wonder you can find any words.
Yeah.
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 And that's what I love about this community is no matter how much or how long you've been raising quail, it doesn't mean that you've come into some things that other people came into and they're just newbies even.
Hmm?
So no matter how long you've been raising quails, you can still be learning.
It looked like a murder scene. I could only think of Zach saying they find the weirdest ways to hurt themselves. Yep.
Have a blessed day, Buster. And if I don't see you before, then have a happy new year.
Have a good one. Right. So it could explain the blood all over the cage, but can't see any quail with any damage on them. That could. It could definitely.
Don't I just say this? When I've seen everything and know everything, I'm dead.
Yeah, and people have different experiences. You can do things the same way and have different experiences. And I
Mm.
know that's true with quail, but it's more true with gardening because like you could be doing something the same way your neighbor's doing, but you're slightly different. You're 20 feet away, but you're still different. Yeah.
Happy New Year, Bob.
Oh, hi Bob. Happy New Year. You get a new hobby when you know everything, huh?
But every time the difference between knowing and okay, between knowledge and wisdom is experience. Another thing is a smart person. The difference between a genius and a smart aleck. Smart aleck thinks they know it all, and a genius knows that the more they know, the more they realize they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the stuff you don't know that.
Can kill you.
Yep.
Just plain and simple. It's the stuff you don't know can kill you.
Yeah, and I know I go into these kind of lives with, I have certain knowledge, other people have certain knowledge, and if we share that knowledge, that's going to be best. That's just what it is.
And with me, the reason why I'm having guest speakers is because everybody can bring their own set of knowledge in that we can share with the people.
Right.
Because I mean, I do in the apartment, you do on a city lot, and Gido's family farm and Steve have farms. You know,
Hmm.
they got a little bit more land, but some knowledge is good for all, no matter what size, and there's other knowledge that is good for somebody that's going through themselves. Give
Seems to.
James a big hug to me. I mean, from me.
Oh,
I
Manuel,
didn't
you
see
you
him.
didn't you didn't you weren't stealthy enough.
I didn't see him because I was reading the room.
You couldn't
So
see
he
him
slipped
because
by me.
Steve just saw me wave.
Oh, I
He
seen
just
you
got up.
wave too.
He's no longer in the room. 13 plus acres, but mostly undeveloped, Bob says.
Well, that's what I would consider that a farm. Well, you got a forest and a small farm.
You have space. Yeah. Space to do things.
You can do guerrilla gardening, Bob.
Yeah. Or you can, Bob, have you done mushrooms out in your forested area? That would be another thing you could do. You could do mushroom logs. Amy says she's in the garage until build a shed or barn because hawks hanging off the cage were not going well with the quail.
No, they can die. A quail can die from heart attacks.
I had one that I believe that happened to, which is why I put up my, if you guys look at my videos, my aviaries have, for the quail, have a shade cloth that's like 2.5 feet tall. And of course, with the wood chips inside, it's no longer 2.5 feet tall, but it gives them a sense of security. It gives them a sense of security. It keeps the compost in, and then it also gives a wind block. Yeah. Amy says mushrooms are planned for this coming season.
Yeah, but when you were asking about Bob about mushrooms, he's in New Mexico, so it's too dry.
He says way too dry for shrooms.
Yep.
Yeah. You could do something though. You can grow onions in the desert. There's wild onions. I don't know why you would. I don't like onions. But you could do, root stuff.
You have
Wine
to be
cap
careful.
mushrooms.
You still have to be careful with those.
Yep. Yeah, there's only 2 mushrooms I've ever foraged. One is the morels, and Steve, that's something that's out by you. You should have morels in your area. Those are pretty easy to identify. As far as I know, there's nothing that looks like them.
Yeah, we call them sponge mushrooms.
Right, that would make sense. But definitely check with sources other than me. And then chanterelles are something that we have here that just got named our state mushroom. I didn't realize we needed a state mushroom. Yeah. Ken says, do quail in the wild migrate to different parts of the world, or do they stay all year round?
Stay all year round.
There's multiple different kinds of quail. So the quail that I know about are California quail mostly, and they stay. And then bob whites, I don't know how they
No,
move.
they
Stay?
stay.
Okay.
They stay because they're not great flyers.
I know they're not great flyers, but sometimes there's like local migrations, but they don't like fly down to South America or anything like that. Like, but there could be some local movements, like maybe this area.
Yeah, they might like do like fields in the summer and woods in the winter or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so about like the hawk, I know we don't get hawks very often, but we do have a Cooper's hawk that like snatched a baby mockingbird from my next door neighbors. There was a tree with mockingbird babies in there, and boy, all the birds were like, "Rah!" But an understated fact somewhere else. And with my birds, it's really interesting to watch them because they don't have reactions to all birds. They have reactions to crows flying over, like if they're cawing as they fly over, they have reactions to crows. Sometimes they have reactions to jays when jays are giving a warning sound, but not to their regular sound. And they really don't like when blimps go over because that sound, they just and that's it. Yeah. Elk are impressive. I know. Bob has elk friends. I think Bob is Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah, and he lives on a mountain too.
Yeah.
So it's a wonder he doesn't have any wild goats.
Yeah, mountain goats. I don't know. There might be mountain goats down there. 80-pound doggy. Yeah.
Bob, what kind of dog is Luna?
I've had elk. I've eaten elk. Yeah, so I think the movements for quail would be more local, like this is going to protect me from the elements more.
Uh-huh. In the grasses, it's spring and fall, and then heaven only knows where in the winter.
Amy's asking Bob, are valley quail out where you are? He probably has mountain or gambles, is my guess. You have pronghorn. Antelope live in Africa. Pronghorn live in the United States. They are also tasty. I've had them. Yeah, Bob, do you know what kind of quail are native to you? I'm gonna guess it's maybe mountain or gamble. Over there. They both
For
have
me,
the
they're,
little thingy.
uh-huh.
Some of them have
Me,
two.
they're Bob Whites.
Just because his name is Bob? No, Bob Whites aren't.
No, Bob White's in my area.
Oh, your area. I thought you said in Bob's area. Yeah, Midwest has Bob Whites. Yeah, there, Amy. There's all sorts of different kinds of quail, and they sound different. Yeah, Mountain and Gamble. Hey, I got it right. That was
And
really
Bob
bright. Look at that. I have light. Ah, sorry.
and Bob White comes. Their call is actually Bob White. Bob White.
I've heard them. I went to school in the Midwest, and I've heard them do that. Yeah. And Mountain and Gamble sound different than Californian and different from each other. But they both have the little wink.
Stray feathers. Alfalfa feathers.
Yeah.
Except for it's the front of their head instead of their crown.
Yep. Yep. They're fun. Top
Well,
notch.
I think it's getting close to time for us to close this out
Okay.
because my migraine is getting bad.
Ooh. Yes. Close your eyes. Get a compress on it.
Yeah, with me, it's a hot water compress. But me, I just have to take something and lay down.
Right. Well, thank you for having me on.
And thank you for coming. You are very interesting.
Hopefully a good one. Yeah,
You
the
are
sun's up
always a good
now. I
one.
see it over there. It wasn't up when we started. I
And
know.
you all have a blessed day. And maybe if I have time, I'll be on New Year's Eve to ring in the New Year's.
Awesome. And then
So you all have a.
I'll
Go
have
ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was telling you. Go ahead.
Oh, and then I'll have what I believe is the first live of the new year on Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And yeah, everybody's welcome. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do the live. Yeah.
Well, we're usually too early in the morning for.
It's pretty early. I usually pop on. Usually, what happens is I pop on either like the last half hour, or I'm like, "Oh, it ended." Whoops. Yeah.
So Happy New Year if I don't see you before then.
Happy New Year if I do. Thanks, guys.